Hey everyone, welcome to a journal video. It's been a bit. I want to thank everyone for their patience and kindness. I did get a couple questions asking where I had been, or very kindly asking if a new video would be coming or if there would be any updates, or hoping there would be. Me too, girl. But I am happy to be working on my journal again. I'll probably get into it during the voiceover, but I just had a bit of a reading slump, so it was a little hard for me to make updates to a journal when I, wasn't reading. Yeah, it was just a rough few months. Work has just gotten a lot harder with a lot of the new tech updates, so I mean, everything's fine, but it's just been a little bit more rough. So I want to just thank everyone for being really sweet and kind, and I'm excited to work on my journal. So that's the good news. If my camera wobbles a bit, I'm trying a new setup. I'm at like my actual desk rather than at my dining room. So the desk itself is a little wobbly with the camera stationed on top of it. So I'm hoping that it won't make anything too wobbly or too motion sick, but if you have any issues, just let me know in the comments and I'll try out a new filming setup for next time. But yeah, without much further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. So here we go. All right, so we're in the voiceover section of this. I knew pretty much what I wanted to do for the collage for this one, since I was actually going to use a lot of these elements for the March spread that I had envisioned, so it still looks a little springy, but I actually think it comes out looking pretty nicely, like early summer, so I think it works out pretty well. I actually think that sunflowers are more summer anyways, according to my Stardew Valley experience, so I think that this worked out well. So here I'm just cutting out the headers. I printed everything out on my sticker paper like I normally do. I love my sticker paper, and I love printing out all of my stuff onto it, so that way I don't have to worry about like using glue tape or glue when I don't need to. So that definitely helps me a lot, and I cut out all my headers just with scissors. And yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm doing. I try to get a little close to it, try to make it look like a little bubbly, incorporate some of that tan background. So I actually really enjoy this process of cutting everything out. It makes things feel, I don't know, it's just kind of a fun tactile thing to do. And then I start working on the collage. I actually think a lot of these washi tape stickers that I used are actually pre-cut already, but I enjoyed cutting like out the individual elements off of the sheet itself, so that way I could test out layering a little bit better. And then here I'm going into what I call my like junk journal, and I'm getting out a page because I want to put this this big kind of like portrait from the Wandering Horizons washi onto a more stark white background, so that way when I layer other washi tape underneath of it, I'm not it's not getting like washed out by the other colors. So yeah, now I'm just using my paper cutter to cut that all out, make it nice and neat. And then I'm going to pull out some of the paper that I use from my books that I got at the thrift store, because I know I'm probably going to want to layer at least a couple of those. I'm using this washi tape from the washi tape shop. I love this one. I thought it pulled out the colors perfectly from the sticker I wanted to use from Marigona Suli art. So this one just really came together. I felt like I had all of the washi tape that I needed to make this like a reality and like pull all these wonderful kind of spring summer colors together. And I kind of go back and forth between my old spreads to see how thick I made certain pieces of washi tape and like where I cut the page. I was a little bit out of my rhythm coming back into this, so I mean, it's nice because I can just very easily go back to other spreads I've done to see what I do, because I actually really do like the layout of my monthly kind of wrap-ups, so I wanted to emulate that as much as possible. And then I use my scissors to just cut off and like round those corners as I'm going, so that way it's not super messy. It makes it feel so nice and clean like right after. Yeah, and so I'm using a ruler to mark off where I'm going to be cutting the page. I like to use pencil on this, so that way I have a clear guideline of where I'm putting my scalloped scissors. And then I'll go back in with just like, yes, that's just eraser. I couldn't find the word for eraser, but I'll erase that line so it's a little bit more clean. And then I'm just finding the elements that I want to layer and kind of getting the overall aesthetic in, knowing I wanted to pull in some of these kind of pre-cut like little stickers from those washi tape rolls. I was actually sent those by the washi tape shop, and I was really happy that I was, because I'm first of all very grateful, but also I don't know if I would have picked them out for myself, especially that yellow flower one on the left. It's a little bit more kind of an ornate look to it, and it's not something I would normally gravitate towards, but I think it layered so beautifully. So I'm so glad I have these florals from these different sets, because yeah, I don't think they would have been something I would have naturally gravitated towards, but I think that I can see how they all work together, and they're just really stunning. So really happy with that. Then I'm just kind of layering some more. I have like a die cut from one of the Archer and Olive subscription sets, like that butterfly came from. I love those die cuts. They feel they're like really thick, so it's kind of like a nice tactile almost like pop out like moment in my journal, which I think is fun. And I'm just gluing in some of the paper. I have found that using a glue stick for this is the only way to go. I have tried so many times to use my glue tape strip, and it just never works. I love my glue tape for like pretty much everything else except for my book paper that I use and layer in. So yeah, now I'm just layering, getting everything kind of in. I sometimes used to do like a TBR on this spread, but I was feeling bad about not getting to the books that I would put on it. So I might just make it more decorative in the future. I don't know, I'm kind of keeping it flexible, but I just loved this portrait of this town with this girl. So I thought it just all kind of came together. So I'm really enjoying that. And then I'm going in and I'm layering, and I'm kind of layering from the underneath, like I'm figuring out where I want to put the florals and like the other elements, so that way I can kind of lay them down on the page before putting the girl on top of it. So I'm trying to get out all these like tiny little elements to figure out where they go, and this is definitely just something I think you get better at the more you do it. I think sometimes it's hard to like know when to stop with a collage, and I've been trying to keep them a little bit more simple and not as many elements, because I think it just looks better to keep it a little bit more minimal, especially if I'm including 2 collages on a spread like this one. So yeah, I'm just going in and I'm layering. I've cut out a lot of time of me peeling off stickers. It's so difficult to do with my nails. But so you get to kind of skip the monotony of me just peeling off stickers for the life of me. I'm so slow. It's so bad. I need to get my tweezers. I've lost them somewhere. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way that spread came out. And then I remembered I should probably put some washi tape at the top and bottom, because I always think that looks so cute. And I'm obsessed with this sunflower, yellow flower, like washi tape from the Archer and Olive subscription that I got in June, and it's gorgeous. Stunning, no notes, and it fit perfectly, I feel like, in this spread. I can't believe I almost canceled my subscription. I was like, I don't know if I need all of this, and then I looked at like a unboxing video of it, and it was like, wait a second, I feel like I could really use this. There's this like stunning journal in it with like lilac paper, and I'm thinking I might use it for like a junk journal or just like random things, so I'm very excited about it. And here I just started the inner stats page, so I'm trying desperately to make my calendar that I do every month, but I forgot where I lay it out, so you can watch me haphazardly just erase lines and go back over them, but we eventually got to something somewhat centered, so that worked out pretty well. And you get to kind of see my slow process of just using a ruler, drawing out a little calendar. I'm so glad that I don't write all the numbers in them. I feel it's a little unnecessary for this type of work, so I'm pretty happy with the way it comes out. And here I'm just pulling in some more stickers from like the Marigona Suli art collection that like revolves around like this kind of like springy sunflower vibes, and I'm layering that with some of the book paper and figuring out where that should go to just take up a little bit more room at the bottom. I'm pulling in some more of the washi tape stickers from the washi tape that I was sent, so it kind of like rounds out the top as well. I thought I could get away with only one piece of book paper here, but I actually really like the way that the two of them layered and kind of connects it. It felt weird without the second one, so I'm glad I ended up including that. And you can see me, I just cut up my washi tape rolls. It's a disaster. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I'm like, I need to get this under control. I'm cutting up too many of these, but I do like it to see how it layers and stuff. So I don't know, hit or miss. And then here, I think I'm about to go in and yeah, I'm about to do all of the line work for this. This always makes me nervous that my ruler is going to accidentally like drag the ink and make it look very ugly. So I'm very careful when I'm doing this section of it. But I was also a little, I don't know, I just wanted to get on with it. I felt like this was kind of marathon journaling section, this video. This whole portion of me doing these two spreads took me about an hour and a half. So if you're ever curious, that's about how long it took. It's obviously sped up, and I also cut out a lot of me removing the backs of sticker paper and opening washi tape rolls. So you do get a little bit more of a condensed version of it, but I try to keep it as much as possible. And now I'm going in here with the 3 colors that I picked for when I read my books. So I read 3 books in June after coming out of a slump. So you know what? That's a win. That's not only. And I'm also using, I used to just do like a little swatch of like the color for the key down at the bottom, but I thought it'd be cute if I did these little hearts. So I ended up doing that, and I think it looks really cute. I actually think it would have looked even cuter if I would have done sunflowers as like the little shape. So I think I'm going to try to incorporate like a little shape, into the key. So because I think that came out really cute. So I'm definitely going to keep doing that in the future, because I think it looks way cuter than just the swatch. So here you can see I'm like flipping back and forth to like make sure I don't mess anything up. And where I place things, I'm pulling out my graphs. I think I mentioned this in the last video, but I pick out the colors from the graphs from like the sticker paper from the stickers that I'm using for the spread. So I was inspired by the Marigona Suli art sticker page. So I literally like color pick some of those, and then I tweak them, because sometimes, when you like color pick a color on the website, it's just like, that's not actually what it looks like, so you have to do some tweaking in the end. But that's how I get the colors for my graphs, and I have loved making these little graphs in Canva. It's, first of all, so easy, but also what I really like about it is it looks so clean in the journal. I think I have like 1 month where I try to like color in my own, and I hated the way it looked. And that's fine, we're learning, but I love how like clean this looks. I love how it looks so professional. I'm like, wow, stunning. So I've been really happy with that. And then I just label them all. I might consider different ways to label these so it's a little bit cleaner, like doing like a little mini key or something like that, because I think that would be a little bit neater. So I might do that. And then here I'm doing like these 3 boxes where I kind of do some like stat roundup, and the only 3 stats that I include in those are how many books I read, how many pages I read, and my overall rating. So that's what I do. And now I'm just using my my little cutter to cut out all my books. I actually did mess up one. I got like a little cut off improperly, but that's okay. We all make mistakes. And it's hard when they're so tiny. I'm like trying so hard to like perfectly position them. But yeah, I just kind of put all of my book covers that I'm going to need for a spread onto a sheet of paper, line them up as tightly as possible, so that way it's easy to cut them out with my paper cutter. And I pray when I'm slicing that I'm on the board. I think this is actually where I mess it up, like in between like a couple of these, and then you can see I literally just use scissors at that point, because I'm like, I'm not messing this up again. So I'm just pulling in the 3 books that I read and putting them in. I actually at one point erased some lines, and it literally erased like the sticker off. I was aghast that I like ruined my journal. But yeah, there it happened. I was very spooked, but it ended up being totally fine. So then I'm using the same colors that I used on the left hand side to make the colored boxes. I think it's nice to just, instead of outlining everything in black, like to bring in a little bit more color. So I like to do that. And then I think I spent some time, like literally you can see me with my mouse. my computer is like right in front of this. I'm like calculating how many pages I read, my average rating. This was a great month of reading for me. I mean, I was coming out of the slump, so I was trying to pick things that I knew I was gonna like or was excited to read. So no shocker here that we had a high rating. And then I'm also calculating up how many pages I read. Most of that is inflated by Oathbound, which was quite a chunky book. But I flew through Oathbound. I read it so fast. It's the third book in the Legendborn series. I actually have a pretty lengthy review of it in this video. So if you haven't read the Legendborn series, this is your reminder to do so. Then I'm using some pens to just add some sparkles and doodles around. I got these pens from the Art Journaler subscription. It came out so cute. So glad I did that. And then moving on to the review spreads. So here I use some more of the washi tape from that subscription box on the left and the right hand side. I've been really enjoying like mixing and matching washi tape. And I think it looks really cute on the page. Like I feel like these pages still look cohesive together, but they're not, I don't know, they're not matchy, which I think is cute. And I knew I wanted to bring in some yellows for the John Proctor's The Villain spread because it has that bright yellow on the cover. So I thought that I knew I really wanted to keep that. And I think it also transitions my notebook really nicely from the last spread into this one. And then I wanted to pull out more of those purples from the Emily Wilde book. So I'm using a couple of Marigona Suli art stickers as always. These are from like the Magical Plants one and also the Sunflower like Witches set. I think they look so cute together and I love this transition from like yellow to purple. I think it came out really neat. Fun fact, my phone died like 5 times while I was journaling, so you might see some cuts where I've already done some things, and that's just because I had some time on my hands, so I tried to remove some of the boring things. So the next decoration that we did was for my Oathbound review, and I knew I wanted a double spread for this because it was my most anticipated read. I love the Legendborn series, and I thought I could do some fun stuff with it, so I'm using some really big washi tape from the Washi Tape Shop. It's their Twilight Veil set, and I loved it. I thought it'd be a really cool background to use, so I made this kind of like shape with just like a circle stencil that I have and a ruler and kind of cut it out. I messed that up, but you know, I think it ended up working well, so hopefully my chopping off of the sides a little bit too much isn't too noticeable. I round out the corners on the bottom a little bit just to make it look a little bit more, I don't know, casual. And then I'm layering like these different sections of the washi tape to kind of form a big background. And then on top, I'm going to put that shape with a quote from it. So I thought it was a different kind of take on how I might do a collage in here. And I'm just layering it. It was up too high. Don't worry. We're going to fix it. Don't worry. But I also wanted to like make the gradients between like the sky look a little bit more natural instead of like blue to kind of pink and then blue to pink, blue to pink. So you'll notice I actually flip the middle one so that way the pinks are touching. You'll see in a moment. The pinks will be touching and the blues will be touching. And even though the clouds are upside down, you're not really gonna see it because it's gonna have a shape over top, and I think it looks better like at a glance. So I am pretty happy with the way it came out. It was really hard to get this kind of like rough edge on this. I wanted to look kind of natural, so I might have done that a little bit differently if I were to do it again, like ripped it all at once or kind of done a different method for that. But I think it came out okay, and after the whole spread is said and done, I kind of like the rough edges, so it worked out well. And then I'm pulling in some washi tape from the new Marigona Suli Art Celestial kind of collection. I love the way, I think it's like the pink purple is the one that I'm using of this kind of like starry night. I got it in every single color that she had because I knew I was gonna need them, use them, love them, keep using them. And I did this lettering off screen while I was waiting for my phone to charge, but it's just a quote from the book, and I had a lot of fun doing the lettering for that, so I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. I'm just sprinkling some more of these kind of like purple foil stickers that I got from that collection as well, and I think it just adds some sparkle to the page. In the book, if you've ever read Legendborn, Bree has different sources of power. So she has her rootcraft, her blood magic, she has like the ether that she can touch into, and they're different colors. So there's red and there's this kind of like blue, and so I love pulling in these blues, pinks, and purples. They feel very Bree to me, and I feel like they match the book really well. So I'm just pulling in a couple more stickers, and yeah, we're almost done here. I'm pulling in, I think, that tree sticker is from the Spring Oasis set from Washi Tape Shop, and then I pulled in another sticker from Marigona Suli Celestial Collection, and then I'm just doing some lettering for the title. I actually found I like doing like the lettering for the titles. It makes it feel like a little bit more like official. It also takes up some of the room on the page, so I don't feel like I have to write as much. Pulling in some more of those purple foil stickers to kind of round it out, since I technically did split up that name. And then my trusty eraser to bring everything back, nice, neat, and tidy. I always test out like my Tombow or like my marker colors like on a separate kind of scrap paper before I do them, so that way I know it doesn't look too wild. And here I'm also just doing the lettering on the other pages. I know I skipped the lettering on the quote, so I wanted to include some here so you could see me doing it. I normally do like 3 dot grid spaces tall, so that way I can do a have any of the like kind of middle lines like for the H or the B's be on like the lower spectrum that looks a little bit more stylized if you have like that kind of like lower X height. So I like the way that looks. And here I'm just testing out how I should lay out Otherlands because it's such a long word, and I end up going with like a smaller version of it, and I just decided that these names are not going to be like equally spaced, and I just accepted it at that point because I was very tired and ready to be done journaling. You never hit those hit that mark when you're just like, yeah, this is good enough. So here I'm just doing some light cleanup. I write the reviews off screen because I needed to kind of come back and do them at another time for my own sanity. But I'm so happy with the way that these spreads came out. It was so nice to come back and feel like really confident about it. And I also just wanted to give like a little showcase of some of the Washi Tape Shop washis that I have either bought or used in this spread, or maybe didn't get to use in this spread. Washi Tape Shop has been so generous. I have a code with them. If you ever want to use my code, you get 10% off. And this video isn't sponsored by them, but they have been generous in sending me stuff for you guys to look at and for me to use in my journal. And I love working with them. They're so nice. I love their washi tapes. It's truly a dream. I've been a fan of them for years, so this is like, I don't know, just getting to share some gorgeous like art with you is very fun for me. So yeah, if you want to check it out, I have the links in my description along with everything that you've seen here. And thanks for enjoying this little interlude as I show you some other pretty washis that we didn't get to use yet. But yeah, back to the video. Here we go. All right, it's time for a final flip through of everything. So we can see we're getting quite chunky. Wanted to run through some of my early updates to my journal. So again, we have updates to the front half. It's so wild how chunky this side is now. But we have my 3 books that I read. So John Proctor as the Villain is just like on my scale, just a contemporary. It doesn't really fit in with other kind of ones here. So I just kind of like darkened the spines just like one more time with the same color. And then the next one that we have is my fantasy with, I did a hint of contemporary for the Legendborn, the 3rd book in the Legendborn series. So that's what I colored that one in. So that was Oathbound. And then the one after that was, of course, the 2nd book in the Emily Wilde series. So that one I colored in with fantasy, romance, and historical. So those are the 3 books that we read. I did include some of these. I think I can fit in some of the prompts for the 3 books that I read for my kind of old school adventure in Aldea spread that I have here. So a book that I was or a series that I was nervous to continue or start. So I was a little bit nervous to start Oathbound, not because of the book itself or anything surrounding that, but simply because it was long and I had been in a bit of a slump, so it was a little spooky for me to pick that up. Then I picked up John Proctor as the villain. It has multiple R's, so that fulfilled one of the other. I haven't filled this side in, but that's fine. And then Map of the Otherlands I used for it has flowers on the cover, so that worked out pretty neatly. It took us like right down here, and then we'll have to figure out that side in a second. As far as the book bingo goes, I have Based on Any Myth, so that's the Legendborn series. Then we have what else did we fill in here? Finished a book in 1 day. I finished John Proctor as the villain in 1 day, so that was fun to also include. There's actually a few others that I could include here, but I'm trying not to like use the same book twice. I might change that at the end if, you know, seeing how it goes, but that's an update there. And then I just filled in the methods that I read things, so you can see John Proctor as the villain was an ebook, and Oathbound and Map of the Otherlands were audio. So just filling in my books read. Series tracker, we did get to update Map of the Otherlands and Oathbound, so this is actually my first one that I'm caught up on. Well, in addition to, actually I'm caught up on Onyx Storm as well. So on here, one of my goals is to finish and catch up on 4 series or duos, so we're 2 out of 4. Once I finish Emily Wilde, that'll be 3 out of 4, so that's exciting. We're making our way making our way downtown. I did just like kind of color in like a little like flower underneath Onyx Storm and Oathbound since I had read those. And I haven't done any major updates here, mainly because I don't want to look at like the April through June ones until I finish reading Sunrise on the Reaping, which I do want to read so badly. I'm probably going to update this soon. I actually did just print out like the headers for this section, so I might do that in my next video. I just didn't want to overwhelm myself like coming back into this, you know? So I'm kind of glad that I'm saving it for a future time. So this is the final spread for my June wrap up. So I've included some gorgeous washi tape that you can see here from the washi tape shop on both sides. I actually really like the way that these washis kind of came out. They pair really well together, and I'm glad to have different washis on both sides of them. I used a die cut from my Archer and Olive subscription, which I really like, and I believe that this washi kind of painting is from the Wandering Horizon. I know I've been using these a lot, but I just think they're so cute. Like these little paintings feel very spring and summery to me. I'm actually excited because I have some fall and winter ones too. So I also included some of that, just my normal kind of paper from that book I have, and a couple of extra stickers. This one's from Washi Tape Shop, this one as well. This one here and here is just kind of background, but I'm overall really, really happy with the way this turned out. Of course, we have the Marigona Suli art sticker as like the main center focus. Included a little tiny sticker from, I think Ikigai Papier, I can never pronounce it, but I love her shop as well, and a couple other just like little things. And then I used these pens from Archer and Olive that I got in my subscription box to do like the little sparkles. I didn't want to go overboard, and I think this just came out really cute. I love the way that this kind of sunflower like washi tape from Archer and Olive also came out. I feel like it was so fun to like use the stuff from that B box. I almost canceled it. Can you believe? Anyways, it turned out so cute. So again, we have our stats. So you can see that I picked up reading towards the end of the month. We really squeezed it in there. But I was just trying to read again. So I think that was my main focus. It was really hard for me to get through reading in these past few months. So I just again appreciate everyone's patience and kindness around that. Not that I got like a ton of questions or comments, but I feel that way, and I just wanted to express my gratitude. And it's just been hard to read. I think work has been really difficult, and that I work in tech, and though I can't get into a bunch of things, AI has really taken over our industry in a way that has been kind of upsetting and very difficult to process, and it's kind of permeated every element of my work in a way that I just find really hard to deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially since I love, I don't know, art and creation like so much, and seeing what people make. And I think a lot of people have been harmed by AI, and it's been very difficult to engage with work in the way that I need to, and the way that I used to enjoy, with kind of the new trajectory of the world and the tech industry. So I think it took a lot bigger toll on me than I really ever expected. But I got some of my spark back after many therapy sessions. So yeah, it's been hard, but it's nice to get back to reading. Well, back to this, but you can see, I think what really did also help was reading a play. It was quick and it was fast, and it made me feel like I accomplished something. So if you're ever feeling like you're in a slump, maybe try just like reading a different format, like a short story or a poem or a play. In my case, worked really well. And I found that I just really wanted to read John Proctor's The Villain, so that helped me a ton. Like I just wanted to read that, and then I felt it made it easier to be like, do I just want to read the next book in like Legendborn? Yeah, I do, and not feel like I had to like pick up where I was leaving off with Map of the Otherlands, which again, it is no fault of this book. This book is great. There was so much happening when I was like trying to read it that kind of, you know, unduly affected my experience with it. But I was glad that I came back to this one last. So you can see that I read the play in one sitting, truly one sitting, and then I read Oathbound right after that. And then we can see my monthly stats here. So we had mostly fantasy, contemporary. John Proctor's The Villain is a contemporary. We have romance as well, for Map of the Otherlands, and Oathbound has some romance elements to it. And then I included, for the Emily Wilde book, historical as well. I bought two of these books, so I bought John Proctor's The Villain. You can buy it, by the way, just like a PDF of it if you're ever curious, if you want to read it after watching this review. I do highly recommend. And then I also bought Oathbound because it just came out. So I kind of had to, unless I wanted to like wait for the library. And then I own technically Map of the Otherlands, so we included that there. And then I listened to Oathbound and Map of the Otherlands on audio, great audiobooks. And then I read John Proctor's The Villain as like an ebook or PDF. So 3 books, 1,200 pages about. This one mainly because of Oathbound, it's so long. John Proctor is so short. And then a 4.67 average rating, so it also helped a bunch that the books that I picked up were, I think, ones that I knew I was going to love, and I did, so that was great. So the first book that spurred me back into reading was not even a book, it was a play, and it's called John Proctor is the Villain. It is a contemporary play. It's set in 2018, so a little bit, you know, removed, but relatively contemporary. And it's incredible. I heard about this because I follow theater channels, and this is currently running on Broadway, but it's also been licensed to high schoolers, so, or high schools, I should say. Like, you could buy the rights to this, so if you're a drama teacher in high school, I mean, could be good. I mean, it contains like more mature subject matter, so I think that's something to be considerate of, but it is about high schoolers in an English class. I loved this play. I heard about it through Mickey Joe Theater. I follow his reviews for like West End and Broadway, and other, you know, theater circuits, but mostly those two. And he saw this and he gave it a stellar review, and I was like, man, I just really want to read that. So I highly recommend. I read it in one sitting. I like bought it on like a Drama Desk like website. I also bought the book. I really like the cover on this one. It has, I think, like the original cast. Sadie Sink is, I don't know if she's ending her run soon, but she played one of the main characters. She was so good in the clips that I've seen of it, because I haven't seen it live. But I remember just like watching his review and thinking about how much I really wanted to just read it in full. But it follows a group of girls in rural Georgia in 2018, so right when like the Me Too movement was really gaining like a lot of steam. and he gives a great summary of the play, so I'll link his video, but I'll do my best. But it follows a group of girls, and one of them has been missing for a while. You don't know why she hasn't been in school, what's been going on with her, but there's drama between her and some of her friends, revolving relationships and boys and just being a teenage girl, you know how it is. And it follows them in their English class, so almost the entire play is set in the English class that they're in, and they have a great English teacher. They're reading The Crucible, they're analyzing it, and it's a really spectacular play. I think it is written with such intentionality, with the way that the writing is stylized, like even I think like the entire, you know, the entirety of it is in lowercase, which is really fun, except for very specific moments. All of the stage direction is really casual. One of my favorite ones is like when it's talking about how Green Light by Lorde is going to start playing, and like the stage direction just says like, God, that song is so good, you know. Or like when Shelby arrives for the first time, it's like, oh, it's Shelby, oh shit. You know, so it's written with this playfulness that I think writing about teenagers kind of demands in a lot of respects, but it's also written with a lot of sincerity and seriousness too, because it does tackle serious themes about you know, sexual assault, sexual harassment, the Me Too movement, feminism. It also tackles, you know, grooming and like all of these things, and the play just feels like a train that you can't get off of. It's supposed to be done in one act, and there's a midway point where something is revealed, and it is really shocking. And from there, the whole rest of the play just kind of tumbles out and the fallout of that, and it was stunning. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I love this play. I highly recommend it. I think that Mickey Joe Theater does a great job summarizing the spoilers. So if you want to go watch his video, I will link it and you can go watch the kind of spoiler review of it. But it's incredible, and I think it does it through a lens that I really enjoy, is like analyzing these themes through like the lens of the Crucible. So that's what they're studying in English class, that's what is coming up with the girls, and really kind of just like analyzing you know, how we can recontextualize certain pieces of text or certain movements. Like if you think about the Crucible, like John Proctor, what was he doing with Abigail, who was a teenage girl, you know? Like there's so much there to analyze, in the way that like I even remember reading The Crucible. We even did The Crucible in my theater, you know, production in high school, and like thinking about how great of a character John Proctor is, and you know, how he's revered as, you know, this beacon of truth and stability, and like this reverent man who won't lie to save his or who won't lie to you know, besmirch his name or what have you. What he wants to keep his name, and that's the last thing he has, and it's this honorable thing, and that gets really analyzed in this text and these discussions that they have in class, and as they start a feminism club, and as they learn more about what happened to Shelby and where she's been and why she's been gone. And it's really spectacular. I love it. I recommend it. It was great. And I have one of my favorite quotes from it at the bottom. Like, that's what names are. They're fiction, but my body is a fact. I live inside of it. And I think if you're familiar with The Crucible, you'll know how important the idea of someone's name is, and John Proctor's name is in The Crucible. And that was when the tumbling of reveals and different information comes to light out of this conversation about John Proctor's name versus Abigail's body. And it's really spectacular. Highly recommend it. I had a great time reading it, and it got me out of my reading slump. So it is all those things rolled up in one, and I highly recommend giving it a look if you are curious. It's so great. There's also some clips of it online if you're ever curious, especially of the finale scene as well, which is pretty spectacular to view. So if you're curious, I would go check it out. The other book that I read was the second book in the Emily Wilde series, Map of the Otherlands, and I really liked this book as well. It was very good. Unfortunately, I read it and I had to put it down halfway, not intentionally, but Just my reading slump, as we talked about, just kind of happened in the middle of me reading this book through honestly no fault of this book's, like, it's not this book's fault. This book is great. I love the plot of the second one. If you've read the first one, it is just so whimsical and magical, and I really love the way that the Fae are depicted in this series. I think that Heather Fawcett really encapsulates a lot of what I love about fairies, and like the way that they can feel whimsical and nonsensical and emotional and magical. And I think that this series really does a great job with the characterizations of the different types of fae. So I really still continue to love that. I still continue to love the writing in this series. I love Emily and Wendell together. They're such a good romance. Oh my gosh, I love them so much. I love that he is her, like, sunshine golden retriever, and she, well, not all the time, he's a little persnickety, but you know, but she is more of the reserved one in the relationship, and I actually really like that dynamic. I've come to find I wouldn't have known that about myself. And I loved the plot of this book. I loved finding the different fairy doors and how they worked, the magic, the way that there are certain elements of even like time or time manipulation, like in this book. There's only a few moments of it, but it's so cool and unique. And yeah, I love this series. If you're interested in like fairies and romance and scholarly research and stuff like that, I do love the Emily Wilde series. It obviously came highly recommended, and I've continued to really enjoy it. So the second book was really good, and I like the new characters in this one too. I think sometimes like second book editions of like new characters or new people can be difficult to introduce, but I really liked them in this book. I really liked Ariadne, I think is her new family relation that you get in this book, and like Professor Rose is also really great. So I really do love the Emily Wilde series, and it's been a highlight for me. And then I also read Oathbound, which is the third book in the Legendborn series, so a couple of series in this review. I love the Legendborn series. If you're not familiar, it is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful YA series written by Tracy Deonn, and she has combined like both Arthurian legends with rootcraft, and it is this like magical meld of these two different kind of magical systems, and it is a really spectacular series. I think it tackles a lot of really strong themes, a lot of different themes, from racism to classism to and I would say like systemic oppression consistently throughout history to Black communities in the US in particular. It touches upon ancestors and calling upon them for rootcraft, which is so fascinating. It talks about like the loss of like Black culture throughout you know, colonialism and like continued oppression throughout the 1700s through today. And it just mixes it all into this magical series, and I truly love this series so much. So if you've ever thought about picking it up, I so thoroughly like unequivocally recommend it. It is spectacular, first of all, and it's such a well-written just series, and it plays on so many things and combines them all so masterfully together into really interesting characters, really interesting takes on tropes and ideas and myths and legends, and I love it. So I love Legendborn. I can't recommend it highly enough. It is truly one of the best YA series I've ever read, and I don't think that enough people talk about it. So that is my little plug for Legendborn if you haven't read it. And the third book was very good. I love Tracy Deonn's writing because, and I think I read in a blog post that she put out that she really views tropes as tools, and she plays with them really smartly, and I think that this book continued to do so. There might be times when I'm like nervous about a way that like a specific trope is going to be used, but she will find a way to subvert it. I don't know how to talk about it all without spoiling the book, so I might have a spoiler section in a second, but overall I felt this book was really good. Bree as a main character makes a lot of really strong decisions, and I feel I love her as a main character. You know how sometimes main characters can be like a little bland? Brie isn't anything but bland. She is smart, she is fierce, she is loyal, she is caring, she is so many things. And I feel like Tracy writes her in a way that lets her make such strong character choices, and she got to do that at the end of the second book, and it put her in a very interesting position for this book. And I think that that was such a fun space for her character to explore. And I understand, I think some people felt like this book fell into a middle book slump, and I kind of felt that at the start. It incorporated more perspectives, so different, like, people were getting different, you know, points of view than we would typically get. And I love Brie's like voice, and I also love her narrator as well in the audiobook. So I was like a little like, wait, I just want to go back to Brie. But of course, like by the midpoint, everything converges so nicely and neatly in a way that, yeah, I should have trusted the process. But I really love that. But overall, I think it's a really good book. And Legendborn is a really interesting one because I gave this one 4.5 stars, and I think it comfortably sits there. There's definitely some stuff that, you know, the pacing in the first half was a little, it's not even rough. It just wasn't quite, you know, as good as the first two books in my opinion. But it was still great. So good. Truly so good. But at any rate, I really love Legendborn, and this is one of the quotes from it. So, human beings deny other human beings humanity and call that power. Stunning. No notes. Every single time something is incorporated from, I would say, history. In this case, there was a lot of talk about, obviously, like the medical exploitation and experimentation and auctioning of specific groups of people, rootcraft girls. And it always falls in line with historical precedents in a way that whenever it happens in the book, I'm always like, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of depressing sense, because that's exactly what has happened in numerous places throughout our history of America. Like, I think about the experiments done in Tuskegee, Alabama, and the horrible things we have put the Black community throughout history. And I think Tracy talks about them with such importance and grace, and puts it all in a package that I think is so important, and I think more people should read. Anyways, I love Legendborn. This book was great. It's very hard to talk about without spoilers, because I feel like it's even hard to discuss, you know, Brie as a character when you don't know these things at the start of even the first book in the series. But I do highly recommend. This book is magical. The series is magical. And I love it. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, so for those of you who have read it, and I can talk about spoilers, please, truly, I mean, truly, if you do not want to know any spoilers about this entire series, please do not listen to this. But I did really like this book. I think one thing that I really enjoyed was that Brie's character was able to make a deal at the end of the last book with such a, what you would consider a big bad of the series. I think that put her in a very interesting position with the Shadow King, and like learning from him to become powerful, to become ruthless, to become impenetrable. That was such a fun way to set up this book as well, and I think it made a lot of sense that to do that, Brie had to lose like her memories of her friends and family. I thought that that was, I mean, it's just who Brie is. Those are the things that make her vulnerable as a character, like her attachments and her care for her people, right? Whoever they may be. So I actually thought that that made a ton of sense, first of all. And I tend to like that, but I was nervous about, you know, the kind of like amnesia trope. But one of my favorite things that was played with in this book was the idea that, you know, and the Shadow King told her, like, what are you gonna say to your friends and family when they see you again and you don't know who they are? They're not going to understand. They're going to hate you. Like, you know, he was, and that was said, and it's like, well, I mean, that makes kind of sense, right? But when it came down to it, that was not the case, and I appreciated that kind of reversal and like the obvious, you can look back on it and see the obvious manipulation from someone, right? And I really appreciated depicting that in this book and showing that to Brie, that her family and her friends, though, I mean, and I think there were a couple of characters who were frustrated with choices made, or like wanting Brie to see how serious this, you know, this was and how infixable it might be, I think that made a lot of sense too. And like, I just really appreciate that they still cared about Bree. They understood her choice. They might have been frustrated with aspects of it, but they were not shunning her or cutting her out because of the choice that she made. They understood where she was coming from because of how, I think, violating the experience at the end of the second book was for her, with Arthur. So I loved that, and I thought it was such a great use of like the amnesia trope. I also thought it gave us a really good chance to get to know Nick's character a lot better in this book, who previously I feel like he's lacked the strong personality. I mean, he was kind of missing throughout book 2, but in book 1, I would have to go back and read it, but I didn't get a strong sense of him other than the duty that he felt. And he was a good guy, you know, but I felt like in this one I got a better sense of Nick's character and his personality, which I definitely did appreciate, and getting to explore that through the lens of Bree, looking at him as someone who she obviously, you know, knows she cares about, but like finding that care again and like, you know, creating new moments with him, I think was a very smart choice for this book direction. I do understand some people who are like, it kind of felt like the second book slump, and it's like, or the middle book slump because it's the third book in the series. I kind of get it, but I appreciated the slow character moments with this one, and how focused it was, and at times how devastating it was with the connections to society at the gala and the selling and auctioning off of literal women and root crafters, all in a means to dismantle their community, and also Bree as well. So heartbreaking, hurtful, as always, incredible by Tracy Deonn, though, to navigate. So loved this book. Anyways, so good. But yeah, so that is our wrap up for this. I'm going to do one final flip through and then we can call it a day. Thank you so much for watching this. I'm really excited about the next one. I'm already in the middle of 2 books, about to finish one, so we should be on track for some more regular updates. So I just wanted to say thank you for everyone's support, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Let me know what you've been reading recently, what you've enjoyed, and if you have any comments or questions, I'll be sure to answer them. Bye, y'all.